Yes, the Casanovians. Yes, the Casanovians. Alright, brother, hope you're well. What we're going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through how I built delusional self-belief. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I understand within all of us there is this conflict of identity. So within you right now, there will be this version of you who you've always been. There's a version of you who you think you should be. And there's a version of you who you know you could be. In this video, I'm speaking to that version of you. I'm speaking to the version of you who you know you could be. Because right now, you might be held back by certain limitations. Maybe you're scared of what other people are going to think of you. Maybe you're scared of putting your head above the parapet and receiving hate, receiving public judgment. Maybe you've got a fear of receiving social injury. So when you see a beautiful woman who you want to talk to, maybe you're scared of not receiving love from the feminine. You might be scared not necessarily of approaching, but you might be scared of being seen to be approaching. Maybe you have a lot of limiting beliefs. Maybe you feel as though you're held back right now by fear, sedation, compliance, all stitched into a mask that you call yourself. But none of these things are true. Perception's reality. Even if it's not true, we make it true by believing in it. And what I understand now, having worked with over 200 guys, helping them remove their social blocks so they can stop living like closet heterosexuals, so they can get the women they know they deserve. But deeper than that, not just about the women, they can become their most abundant selves, yeah? They're able to experience success in advance. Opportunities start coming easily. They're no longer held back by the same limitations as a majority of men on this planet. But what I've learned is all we are is repeated patterns of thoughts and behavior that we've accepted over time as our identity. And we then solidify this identity through the language that we use. So you might say things right now to yourself like, I'm an introvert, I suck with women, I can't achieve these things because X, Y, Z. None of these things are true. It's the emotional weight you're attaching to them. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to lay out exactly how I built delusional self-belief. I'm going to explain lesser known ways that I've been able to do this. This is not a how-to, this is a how I. I'm simply relaying things that have allowed me to go from somebody who was low on confidence, having erectile dysfunction, being addicted to porn, feeling as though I was fundamentally unlovable in 2020, working a dead-end job for minimum wage. And the fucked up thing was I always knew I had potential inside of me. I always knew I had a symphony to sing to the world. And one of my prevailing fears was getting to the end of my life, recognizing I'd wasted my potential, recognizing I still had so much music inside of me that I never got to share. So I use fear as a motivator. I use fear as a reason not to stop, because I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to doing things beyond the ordinary, like cold approaching women, or for me, for example, at 13 years old, I became a magician. The reason why I became a magician was because I needed to do something that scared the shit out of me, because I grew up as an only child in the Lake District in the north of England. My parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, and growing up it was just me and my mum. Because my mum's got a lot of mental health issues, I often became the emotional brunt of her mood swings. So I learned social skills accidentally during my formative years. I learned if I said the wrong thing at the wrong time with the wrong intonation, I would inflict the wrath of my mum. So growing up, I developed this fear of the feminine. I always had these people-pleasing tendencies. I always put other people's opinion of me before my own because it was a defense mechanism. The adult is developed to protect the child, right? So the adult we become is designed to protect the child that we once were. But growing up, I always struggled to make social connections. I always felt like a social outcast. I always felt like I didn't really fit in. I always felt like the black sheep, and I lacked belief. I lacked confidence in myself. If you look at the etymology of the word confidence, it's confident, which means with faith. And the first way that I have stacked this delusional belief in myself, so now I'm able to experience success in advance. I have the mentality that no matter what, I'll be able to handle it. Throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. It wasn't by thinking my way through it. It was acting in spite of the fear, the feelings that I had. So for example, 13 years old, became a magician because public speaking scared the shit out of me. I always hated the social spotlight. One time in school, I got put on the spot to answer a really basic question. I got the question disastrously wrong. Even the teacher laughed at me. So I learned back then, if I was wrong, I was stupid. And this is what I've learned with so many guys in the modern world is, you know, when people are always like, oh, average guys, they're average because they're lazy, because they're not trying. I think that's horseshit. What I've found is average guys are not average because they're lazy. They're just scared. They're scared of getting it wrong. But what I've learned in my own life, and having now helped over 200 guys remove all of the bullshit, is in order to become great at anything, you have to risk not being able to do it. And by doing activities that terrified the living shit out of me, I've been able to step into bigger shoes. Because a lot of people think that nerves, anxiety, stress, depression, uncertainty, a lot of people think these are negative emotions. They think that these emotions are designed to be deleted. But what I found to be true in my own life is, first of all, nothing is good nor bad. It's the thinking that makes it so. But if you feel uncertain, if you feel anxious, let's say you see a beautiful woman today and you want to approach her and you probably feel some sensation of resistance. A lot of guys, because they're not putting themselves beyond their comfort zone often enough, these sensations feel unfamiliar and they interpret unfamiliarity as scary. But what I train my clients to do is perceive these emotions as acting for you. Yeah, so if you feel nerves, if you feel those butterflies in your belly, you don't need to interpret those feelings as why you shouldn't do it. For me, I interpret nerves as this feeling of aliveness. I'm excited. The glory of God is in a being fully alive. And one of the, I guess, lesser known, non-obvious ways that I've been able to develop this delusional self-belief is through reframing my relationship with these emotions. Because if you walk outside today and you see beautiful women and you feel, oh, I feel like a closet heterosexual right now, you don't approach her. You end up replaying this moment over and over in your head. You beat yourself up about it. That starts to quietly erode your confidence in yourself. I was in this state for years, especially when I was learning magic. I was watching David Blaine on YouTube, you know, the American magician guy performing magic to fucking hillbillies. And it took me 2 months at 13 years old to pluck up the courage to finally approach a stranger. I would walk around parks in the Lake District with a deck of cards in my pocket. My hands would shake, my voice would crack. I would see people like grandmas who I wanted to just go over and approach them. But I have all these limiting beliefs. I'd say to myself, oh, this is weird, this is creepy. I shouldn't be approaching strangers at 2 p.m. on a Thursday in the Lake District. Nobody does this. It only works in America. It only works if you're David Blaine, you've got status. You probably see how that relates now with what I do, which is helping guys overcome their resistance to approach beautiful women so they can live rock star dating lives. But doing things that scared the shit out of me. So being a magician, I did 2 solo skydives at 18 years old. And when you're sat on the edge of a plane, it was none of that tandem bullshit. I did the full proper course. It's called a RAPS course, RAPS. And I was sat, I still remember it, because I read this book. It was called Above All Else, and it was by this world champion skydiver who experienced hell and he found a way to enjoy it. I believe his name is Dan Brodsky-Chenfeld. I remember reading that book, Above All Else, when I was around 16 years old, and it made me want to do solo skydives because it terrified me, because it scared the shit out of me. And I remember sat on the edge of the plane and my Scottish instructor just said jump. And in that moment, I glimpsed what it was like to embrace my own mortality. Yeah? I remember being in freefall when my parachute got deployed, looking at the picturesque panoramic of the Lake District. I felt this overwhelming sensation of peace. It allowed me to have faith in myself, knowing that I'd done something that most people are not going to do at 18 years old. I did it twice. And I found that by choosing the path of most resistance, this has allowed me to develop unwavering faith in myself. And then it's like doing daytime approach, like starting off cold approaching. When I look like a turnip, I dress like a moron. I started daytime approach before I felt ready. I didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. I prioritized imperfect action. I had this clear idea in my mind of the man who I wanted to be. We're going to come on to that a little bit later. Identity reinvention. And I simply reverse engineered my actions. I made my actions align with my ambitions. I understood belief follows action. And I started putting myself out there. I was a lifeguard in the United States of America in 2017. That scared me. I was living away from home. I had to be responsible for lots of different people. I've solo traveled to over 30 countries. Example, at the start of 2023, I lived in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. When I got to Brazil, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. I got to my Airbnb, all my bank cards got cancelled, my phone broke, my Airbnb host was threatening to kick me out because all my cards got declined, so I couldn't use them. I got violently sick. And I don't think you can truly develop delusional belief, the mentality, no matter what happens, I'll be okay, unless you've gone through hell. I think it was Winston Churchill who said it best. When you're going through hell, keep going. So what I did and what I continue to do is find things that scare me. I use resistance as my compass. I use fear as my guide. For example, in 2024, I started training martial arts in Bangkok. Fighting was always something that terrified me. Putting myself into that animalistic environment, I was scared of getting knocked out. I was scared of getting my teeth cracked. I was scared of getting kicked in the ribs. I was scared of putting myself in an environment where everybody else was fitter, faster, stronger than me. But I knew I had to do it. I knew by doing that, it would allow me to step into bigger shoes. So that's the first thing. If you're somebody right now and you feel as though you're lacking faith in yourself, I would personally create a fear list. Write down all of the things that are scaring the shit out of you and gradually expose yourself to these things. So for me, I was always scared about not getting an erection with new women, right? Because my inability to maintain an erection for a woman came from my childhood because I desperately wanted to receive love from the feminine. I didn't get the love, the appreciation, the support that I wanted as a child. And I had dysfunctional relationships because I was scared if I can't perform for this woman, she's going to leave me, then I'm going to be all alone, and that feels scary. And what would happen is I would lose myself in relationships because I was scared of losing the relationship. Oftentimes my loyalty was based around scarcity. My relationships were built on a foundation of fear. I'd convinced myself I needed to be perfect in order to receive love. And that puts a lot of pressure on yourself. So what I did is I just dive bombed into discomfort. I made the decision to make myself viciously uncomfortable. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to become proficient at daytime approach, is because I wanted to go on dates. I wanted to bring women back to my place. I wanted to marinate in that discomfort. I wanted to make peace with the perceived worst case scenario. I wanted to fail. I wanted to fail forward because I understood that this was an investment into the identity of the man who I wanted to embody. And this is why I say to all my clients, success with women has got nothing to do with what you add. It's got everything to do with what you remove. This is attraction through subtraction, attraction through reduction. And what I found to be true in my own life is exposure therapy, doing the thing that terrifies me, coming through the other end, knowing I'll be okay. This has allowed me to develop unwavering, delusional belief in myself to the point where it doesn't feel delusional anymore. Drake said it best. You know it's real when you are who you think you are. But I think at the start, when you don't have evidence, because evidence does have the loudest voice, when you don't have evidence from your current self, what I've learned to do is outsource confidence to my future self. That's what I did with daytime cold approach. What I did when I was learning daytime approach, and this is really, really important. When I first started and I didn't have a lot going for me, I was low on confidence, I didn't like myself, it would have been very easy for me to have delayed putting myself out there until I was more looks maxed, until I'd built more status, until I'd become this high value dude. What I did is I created the version of me who's talking to you today. Yeah, it's a little bit like, you know the movie Fight Club with Tyler Durden? Well, I believe Tyler Durden is not a character. Tyler Durden is an identity, but more nuanced than that, Tyler Durden is a choice. Because at the start of this video, I said to you, within all of us, there is this conflict of identity. The version of you who you've always been, the version of you who you think you should be, and the version of yourself who you know you could be. And what I do when I work with my clients one-on-one is I give them full permission to be the version of themselves who they know they could be. And the first exercise I give to all of my private coaching clients is the creation of a personal renaissance document. So for those of you who don't know what this is, really simple. You write down, pen and paper, you write down who you want to be in the third person as though somebody else is saying it, as if it's already happened. The reason why you write about yourself in the third person as though somebody else is saying it is, in my experience, it allows the affirmation to carry greater emotional weight, right? Because something that I've learned over the years is we are what we pretend to be. We are what we pretend to be. So for example, when I was learning daytime approach, I would write about myself in the third person, and I would say things like, Christian is the best in the world at daytime cold approach. Christian is the most fuckable man on the planet. Christian has built $1 billion coaching business. Entrepreneurs from all around the world are lining up to do business with Christian. Christian is the best to have ever done it. Christian is held back by nothing. Yeah, so this became my identity. I became a character. I became the character in my own movie. But understanding we are what we pretend to be, it's not necessarily fake it till you make it. It's act as if you already are that version. Because if you pretend to be confident, yeah, if somebody said to you right now, dude, pretend to be confident, you would apply certain mannerisms. Maybe you would walk a certain way. Maybe you would speak a certain way. If you pretend to be confident, you are by default a confident person. So for example, when I go to the Muay Thai gym, I tell myself, Christian is the world's greatest Muay Thai fighter. This isn't because I've got uncontrollable narcissism, although that is a symptom of my personality. It's because it puts me into the mindset of how would I act if I truly were the world's greatest Muay Thai fighter? How would I show up for training? What would my mentality be during the sparring sessions? How would I control my nutrition? What would I do in my free time? I would watch sparring videos. So you are what you pretend to be. And if you do the personal renaissance document properly, you read it to yourself first thing in the morning. Because when you first wake up in the morning, you're in what is known as theta state. This is the state that children are in. This is why children can pick up things really fast, like languages, because in theta state, you're more susceptible to programming. Same thing with just that liminal space before you fall asleep at night. So I would read this document every morning and every night, and I would be brainwashing myself with delusional optimism and irrational confidence. I made my actions align with my ambitions, and I continued to put the reps in because this is how I perceive the game of life. Nothing is real, it's the thinking that makes it so. I'm living my life like I'm already a billionaire. I just don't have the money in my pocket yet. This is why I really fuck with guys like Conor McGregor, Kanye West. It's because Conor McGregor was world champion before the world ever gave him his crown. Kanye West was selling out stadiums in his mind before he'd ever even sold an album. And this is the mentality I install into my clients because true confidence for me, true confidence is making other people feel confident in your presence. So when guys are working with me, whether they're working with me online or the guys who fly out, they they fly out to spend one-on-one time with me, or they attend our Entourage Renaissance retreats, so our group masterminds that we hold throughout the year. When guys spend time with me, my approach to life rubs off on them. Proximity very much is power. You probably heard the mantra, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And the feedback I often get with guys, especially the guys who spend time with me, is my entire paradigm on life has exploded. Because when guys work with me now, it's not just the cold approaching, right? I'm not sat here telling guys tactics, techniques, tricks. You can go onto ChatGPT, you can go onto Claude, how to approach women. The internet is flooded with information. It's not about information anymore. It's about implementation. It's about the transfer of certainty. It's the transfer of emotion. So now when guys are spending time with me, yeah, sure, they get dates on demand with wife-worthy women, but they make more money. They explode their income. They think bigger. They achieve more because I give them permission to be the version of themselves they've always wanted to be, but have been too scared to try. And this is why I don't believe in the modern world men such as yourself lack confidence. You might think you lack confidence, but really what you lack is consequences. Yeah? Because when guys are attempting to learn certain skills on their own, oftentimes they don't have a witness to their failure. Think about it. If you walk outside today and you see 10 beautiful women who you want to talk to, let's say you pussy out on all of those approaches. Well, nothing bad immediately happens. In business, if you hesitate, you lose money. In boxing, if you hesitate, you get knocked out. But when it comes to approaching women and living a more abundant dating life, there are no immediate consequences to your actions. But the fucked up thing is, your faith in yourself quietly starts to erode because you know. Yeah, you know that you pussied out. So what I say to guys is it's not about increasing your confidence, it's about increasing your consequences. For example, if you said to a friend, Barry, I'm gonna go out this weekend and I'm gonna approach 25 women. If I don't do this, I will wire you a certain amount of money. Yeah, a certain amount of money that stings. And I will record the audio of these conversations to prove to you that I've done it. Now you've introduced consequences. Now you've made it impossible to fail. And this is why I get the best client results in the industry, or one of the reasons why, is because once guys have invested thousands of dollars into their own expertise, when guys have invested thousands of dollars into my expertise, they've allocated their capital into my knowledge, they've burnt the boats. There's no going back. And by the way, if you doubt anything that I say, just search Christian Casanova testimonials on YouTube. Evidence has got the loudest voice. I think there's a lot of bullshit in the space. I think a lot of people talk a big game, but they don't have the evidence to back it up. So just search Christian Casanova testimonials on YouTube so you can see the guys who I work with, you can see the results that I actually get. But introducing consequences, yeah? Because this is the thing as well. When I say things to the world, such as, I am the best in the world at daytime cold approach, I get the best client results in the industry, I'm the best to have ever done it, people think, oh, that guy is full of himself, that guy loves himself. But by the way, why is loving yourself, why is being full of yourself a bad thing? Yeah, I grew up in the UK, and in the UK, it always felt like a crabs in the bucket mentality. People want to see you do well, they don't want to see you do better than them, because it holds a mirror up to who they could have been. I remember growing up in the Lake District, and I would hear some middle-aged women gossiping about some dude, and they'd be like, he loves himself, that Jason, he loves himself. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, great, good on Jason. Yeah, like, the whole point of this game is to operate from a place of wholeness rather than from a place of lack. And I find it crazy how loving yourself has become some negative label, right? So when I was, I forgot my train of thought then. What were we talking about? Talking about Jason, talking about, I was going to say Jason and the Argonauts. That'll come back to me. That was it. So when I put these expostulations out there into the world, when I say things like, Christian is the best to have ever done it, I'm speaking to an audience of one. I'm speaking to myself, because what that does is it introduces consequences for me. It introduces reasons why I need to continue to push to a higher level. Like McGregor, for example, when he would trash talk his opponents, when he would say things like, I'm going to spark this guy out in this round, he wasn't speaking to his opponent. He was speaking to himself. He was making his intentions public to make it impossible to fail, so he could put healthy pressure on himself to perform. This is why so many guys don't achieve their dreams. This is why so many guys don't achieve their desired reality. It's the reason why so many guys get to the end of their lives realizing they've wasted most of it. It's because they don't have witnesses to their success. They don't have witnesses to their perceived failures. They don't have witnesses to their progression. They need consequences. And this is what I do for my clients. Yeah, we introduce consequences, right, dude? You burnt the boats. You're part of the entourage now. You are connected with me one-on-one. And my clients already know this. I run through brick walls for my clients. I'm a psycho when it comes to my work because I've got unhealthy people-pleasing tendencies, but I've found a way to mold these tendencies into creating a hyper-successful coaching business. Because when guys invest their money into my expertise, that child inside of me wants to please, right? It wants to receive validation. I want great testimonials. I say to all my guys, the reason I want you to be successful is purely selfish, right? The world's motivated by self-interest. We all just want the best deal for ourselves. The world, we are animals responding to incentives, right? So what I say to my guys is, listen, the reason you're going to be successful is because my reputation is attached to your success. So once you start working with me, there is no fucking way you are not going to get to where you want to get to. Yeah, that's why I'll run through brick walls to my clients. If my client's struggling with something at 1 a.m., he needs a quick call. Fuck it, I'm there. Yeah, I will go above and beyond because I need to. It's part of my genetic makeup. I need to feel as though my presence means something to somebody. And there was a really good quote because something that I say to a lot of my clients is, you know, you're watching this right now, right? And you've been watching this video for a relatively long time. Something that I say to my clients is, the reason you like me isn't because you like me necessarily. It's the value that I provide, and also it's the way that I make you feel. Because here's the thing about life. Everything we do is for the feeling that it gives us. I don't believe we can be in love with another human being. I believe we are in love with their capacity to allow us to experience love. How do you make somebody else laugh? You make yourself laugh first. So what I've found is to have this delusional belief in yourself. You're not gonna have this when you first wake up in the morning. Yeah, when I wake up in the morning, my brain is depleted of oxygen. I've been comatose for the past 8 hours. I don't feel like a world builder. I don't feel like a visionary. I need to get into a certain emotional frequency that I call godly frequency. And this is a practical framework that you can start using right now to develop this delusional self-belief. So we already understand the whole point of life. Everything we do is for the feeling that it gives us. Yeah, a lot of people will say, I want to be a millionaire. Great. But how do you know you want to be a millionaire if you've never been a millionaire before? What they're really saying is, I want to feel like a millionaire. I want the feelings attached with status of millionaire. So maybe it's a feeling of no stress, a feeling of generosity, feeling carefree, feeling abundant, right? So it's the feelings that we're searching for. But once you understand, everything you want is already there, right? It's already there internally, yeah? So I think it's the passage, the kingdom of heaven is within, right? So if you want this certain vibrational frequency, let's say you want to experience love, right? What I do every single day is I put myself into the frequency of the emotion that I want to feel. So what this means in plain fucking English is I do something that makes me feel accomplished. I do something that makes me feel this radiating sense of unconditional love for myself, peace, joy. So for example, I will train 90 minutes of martial arts. I will create content like this. This energizes my soul. I will talk to my mum. I will go outside. I will walk in the sunshine. I will sprint up hills. I will train at the gym. Before you go out and approach women, what I say to my clients is do things that make you feel good first. Put yourself into a high frequency state so you already feel whole. Because the problem a lot of guys have is they go out to approach women, but they're operating from a place of lack as opposed to a place of wholeness. So for you to have delusional self-belief, especially when it comes to approaching women, you want to be in godly frequency first. You want to be in a certain emotional state where it feels like your cup is so full, all you want to do is give. You're able to experience success in advance. So do something that makes you feel good at the start of your day. Yeah, it could be martial arts, it could be training at the gym, it could be listening to great music. I love listening to Kanye on a daily basis. There's a really great quote from Kanye that I wanted to end off this video with. He said that, let me just get it up. This is a banger. He says, if you're a Kanye West fan, you're not a fan of me. You're a fan of yourself. You'll believe in yourself. I'm just the espresso. I'm just a shot in the morning to get you going, to make you believe that you can overcome that situation that you're dealing with all the time. I love that. The thing that I didn't say, which I wanted to say too, yeah, the magical incantation, abracadabra. You've probably heard this, right? Abracadabra. So the conjurer would use this to indicate a certain moment had just occurred. Well, the word abracadabra, it comes from the Aramaic, and it translates into English as I create as I speak. Yeah? I create as I speak. So understanding that, like Plato said, people who tell stories rule the world. Nothing is real. I have this prevailing belief in solipsism. I have this prevailing belief that I'm only conscious of my own consciousness. I don't know what it's like to be anybody else, yeah? And I see everything as the universe conspiring in my favor. I remember I was in Stockholm in 2024 with one of my clients, this really hyper-successful Deca millionaire guy, like on the surface, absolutely crushing it. You know, the super dateable guy, got the watches, got the cars. And we were having dinner in Stockholm one evening, and he said something that I've never forgotten. He said to me, Christian, the universe actively wants to give you what you want. You just need to ask for it. Yeah? And that always stuck with me, because here I am, when not that long ago, I could barely afford the basics in life. I was on universal credit at one stage in my life, which is basically welfare. I had to ask the government for money just to buy a loaf of fucking bread. And here I was with this Deca millionaire having dinner together, a guy who'd seen my content on YouTube, decided to invest into my expertise. And in that moment, because evidence has got the loudest voice, I'm like, I'm living the reality that I wrote about. I'm with this super successful guy, the version of me who I wrote about in my personal Renaissance document, it's been actualized. And when he said that, everything just clicked. I'm like, yeah, the universe is conspiring in my favor. Yes, you have to make your actions align with your ambitions. It's not about sitting lotus flower position, kumbaya, on your kitchen floor, hoping to manifest all of your dreams and ambitions. No, you actually have to do shit. It's a law of action, right? But think about it. You wouldn't get on an aeroplane not knowing where you're going, because the destination determines the direction. It's the same with your desired reality. It's simply understanding who it is that you want to be, removing everything that isn't you, making your actions align with your ambitions, and having delusional optimism that you can do the thing, and also using me as an example. Yeah, using me as a crystal clear example of what happens when you apply the principles that I've shared so far. But the final thing I wanted to say to you is, I believe the universe is actively conspiring in my favor. I believe that the meaning of life is the fulfillment of a promise. I believe that before I got put on this planet, I made a pact with a divine being that I would liberate a generation of men free from bullshit. Yeah? And this is why I believe in angel numbers. If I see 1111, if I see 2222, I see that as confirmation I'm on the right path. Here's a really interesting story. One of the most popular videos on my main channel is I approached 33 women in London to overcome my fear of rejection. I made that video in 2024, and I didn't understand the significance of the number 33 until recently. I was speaking to a friend of mine, and we were speaking about various things, and he said, you know, Jesus was 33 when he died, and the human spine is made up of 33 vertebrae. And I'm thinking, I made that video in London. The number 33, it just happened to be there, right? I didn't go out planning to approach 33 women. It just happened to be there. And when I learned that, connecting the dots, because again, even if it's not true, we make it true by believing in it, yeah? When I was in Brazil and everything was going wrong, I could have seen that as, oh, woe is me, everything is happening to me right now, the universe must hate me. But now, my hindsight practice becomes my foresight practice. I recognize all of the vicissitudes that I've experienced in my life, my parents getting divorced, my fear of abandonment, going through erectile dysfunction, having approach anxiety to approach strangers, having this universal fear of not receiving love from the feminine, feeling as though I was fundamentally flawed, feeling as though I was fundamentally unlovable. All of the shit that I've been able to experience in my life so far, it's all part of a greater plan. I truly believe that, yeah? So this is how I've built delusional self-belief, and we've only just scratched the surface in this video, because what I've done is I've put together a full 10-hour in-a-game mastery course. So if you watch my content specifically for cold approach, but you feel as though you've got a lot of mental blocks right now, maybe not just when it comes to approaching women, but dating women as well. If you feel as though you are socially blocked when it comes to women, and you're somebody who wants to become elite at the skill of daytime cold approach, then there's a video that's just appeared on screen, and it's my full in-depth 10-hour in-a-game mastery course, so feel free to go watch it.